Okay, so give us a sense of your business right now, the size, scope, and scale, but also its direction. Where is the largest growth coming from for you?
Yeah, so in size and scope, if you look backwards the last year, we were about a $22 billion revenue company. We move just south of 9 million rail cars a year. We employ about 40,000 people, and we run on about 32,000 miles of track. The business right now is being driven in part by our industrial products portion of the marketplace. To a lesser extent, our agricultural products is doing pretty well. And inside of those two, construction material is doing well, steel is doing well, industrial chemicals, plastics, ethanol. In the energy segment, petroleum, LPG, refined products, those are doing well. There's a couple of soft spots, frac sand going into the shale markets. Coal is a little bit of a soft spot. And over on our premium product side, the automotive marketplace is softening just a touch, but we're seeing in the first quarter some pretty good strength in our intermodal products.
Fritz, we're awfully concerned right now with U.S.-China trade relations. Do you see any sensitivity in your business to what goes on with trade with China?
Most definitely, David. We see sensitivity right now, specifically in the agricultural product space. If you look back a year ago, China was buying about 40% of soybean exports from the United States, and about half of all beans were being exported. So it was a big percentage of total production. Today, China's out of the U.S. soybean market. So those beans are having to find another home in the export markets, and that's had an impact on bean pricing. It's down about 30% over the course of the last year or two, as well as then that has a bleed-on impact to those agricultural communities. We see those kinds of puts and takes to a lesser degree in other parts of our markets.
So that brings us to sort of the efficiencies that you can still wring out of your business. How much more low-hanging fruit is there? And then what are kind of the far-reaching things that you have to do to keep your business strong when the efficiency of railroads for you guys lower is better at 62.7%?
Alex, thanks for the question. And I want to say first, there's no such thing as low-hanging fruit when we started at a 63 operating ratio. But as we look forward from here, what we're doing is we're implementing precision scheduled railroading, and that plan for us is called the Unified Plan 2020. At the same time, we've been implementing other initiatives that we call Grow to 55 and Zero. Collectively, the target is safe, consistent, reliable service for our customers, coupled with highly efficient operations. And we're getting those efficiencies by being much more productive with locomotives and with freight cars, touching cars fewer times, that is, moving them deeper into the network and having them dwell less in our yards. That means there's less work, so we're getting labor productivity. And we're also getting productivity out of the fuel that we consume, our consumption rates improving. And because we have fewer locomotives and freight cars on, we're spending less on material, on rent, on fees. So it's really kind of it's a virtuous cycle. As we run a more reliable, consistent, efficient network, we're able to drop some costs out of the network and continue to improve our productivity.
So, Lance, that certainly helps your company make more money, which is ultimately the goal. But what about market share over against trucking? I mean, is that your biggest competitor as a practical matter? And how's the battle over market share going for you?
Yeah, David, truck is definitely one of our biggest competitors. There's other modes that we compete against as well. But when it comes to trying to take trucks off the highway, that starts with that safe, consistent, reliable service product. We've been pretty effective at it. We've grown our domestic intermodal product, which is literally taking trucks off the highway, by, call it 4 or 5 percentage points a year for, call it, the last decade. So that's been a real growth engine for us. We think it has a lot of legs going forward. You know, with all the concern about global warming and the environmental impact that businesses and communities can have, railroad's one of the solutions. You know, we're 4 or 5 times more efficient than truck.
Yeah.
And we're very proud of that, and we help communities leverage that.
So, Lance, going forward, what is the biggest risk that you foresee in your business for the back half of the year?
You know, I think it's us as a society doing something that would break this wonderful expansion that we have. And I think the most likely risk right now is trade and trade disputes. All of us know that tariffs are a tax on the economy. We get less of what we tax. And so I think we just have to be really careful and thoughtful about how we use tariffs to do the right thing, which is to get China to kind of snap to and behave within the spirit of the WTO rules.
Lance, that's looking forward. Look back just for a moment. Look back 150 years and what the Transcontinental Railroad really meant for this country. Going back to 1862 when Abraham Lincoln signed it, but then it took him a while to get it fixed. How does that transform the country?
It's unbelievable, and I'm so glad you asked about that, David. So we're going to celebrate driving the Golden Spike at the end of this week in Promontory, Utah. That's when we connected in 1869, the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific. And to your point, through the last 150 years, that has fundamentally changed America. It changed things immediately. A trip from San Francisco to New York that took 6 months, where you risked your life, literally, then started taking more like 10 days in relative luxury. It changed how people ate. Foods were available that weren't available previously. It changed how we thought about connection and communication. It changed how we connected the globe. One of the things that people don't speak too frequently about, but an intent of the railroad was to connect Atlantic to Pacific, connect Europe to Asia, and we became a critical trade route in the process. And you know what it did? It fundamentally gave the nation something to focus on to tie us together after the Civil War. And it did that in tremendous fashion. And then 150 years later, Union Pacific's right in the heart of building America. You know, behind us, I think you see #done. That means the job was done in 1869, but the job of building America is never done.